circumference and area of circles as review. So the first thing we're going to look at is circumference. This represents the outside part of a circle. So some real world examples would include running around a track, the crust on a pizza, placing a fence around a garden, etc. Things where you just go around something and around a circle and you don't fill it in. Okay, we have two formulas for this. First one is C equals 2 pi r, and then the second one we can use would be C equals pi d. So remember, this is being multiplied. So it's 2 times pi times r, or pi times d. Okay? And just so we remember, C stands for circumference, R stands for radius, and D stands for diameter. Okay. Our next one is area, which represents the inside part of a circle. So real world examples for this would be installing a carpet in a room, fertilizing a lawn, painting a wall, something where you have to fill in a whole area. So those would be some examples. There's only one formula for this, and that is A equals pi times r squared. Okay, so remember that's times. And to label these, we have A is area and R stands for radius. Okay. So real quick before we look at this, we go any further, pi, if you don't remember, is 3.14. Okay. And we can look at what a diameter and a radius are. So diameter would go all the way across the circle, going through the middle. So it can be like that. It can be like this. It can be like this. However you want to do it, as long as it's going through the middle and it's going from one side of the circle to the other side. Examples of a diameter, of a radius, is it goes from the center out. So it'd be these blue lines. But it's only from the middle to the outside. So it's half of the diameter. It can go like this. It can go like this. However you want it. But it can only be half. Okay? Okay. So some reminders are, what does 5 squared mean? In other words, how would we rewrite this? That would be the same as saying 5 times 5. Okay. Same with 10 squared. It'd be 10 times 10. So it'd be your base, which is your main number, the big one, is going to be the number that's going to be multiplied. And the small number on top, is how many times they're going to be multiplied. So because there are 2, there's 2 of these. Okay. Okay. So something to remember are that these are just formulas. So you're going to plug in the values you know and the ones that you are given. Okay. So you need to also understand what the question is asking. So if it's asking you for the radius, you're finding the radius. If it's asking you for the area, you're finding the area. If they're asking for the circumference, you're looking for the circumference. Okay. So the goal for these are, when solving an equation, is to isolate the variable. In other words, get the variable alone on one side of the equal sign. Okay, so those are some notes. we can move on to the example. So example number 1 says a circular garden has a circumference of 50.24 centimeters. If this is true, find the measure of the radius. So we are given the circumference, which is 50.24, and we want to look for the radius. Okay, so looking at our equations, at our formulas that we have on top, we have this one, or this one. I want to look for the one that has both of these, the circumference and the radius. And to me, the only ones that have that is this one. The C equals 2 times pi times r. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just replace my letters with the numbers that I have associated with them. So that C gets replaced with the 50.24. 2 doesn't need to be replaced. Pi. So pi is equal to 3.14. This is something we know. So we're just going to put that in there. So now it's 2 times 3.14. And we need times r. Oops, sorry, wrong color. R. Okay. So before I try to get r by itself, I am going to multiply whatever I can. Okay. So I can multiply 2 times 3.14. And that gives me 6.28. It's still equal to 50.24. And my r doesn't go away. Now I'm going to solve for r. Just like solving for x. So we're doing the inverse operations. Right now it's being multiplied. So what do I have to do? I have to divide by 6.28 to both sides. Because what I do to one side, I do to the other side. I want to make this 6.28 into a 1. Because 1 times r is r. And then the other side, got to do that. So 50.24 divided by 6.28. That is 8 centimeters. Okay. This is our final answer because all I was looking for was r. So I can start writing my claim. The radius is 8 centimeters. And I am done with example number 1. Moving on to example number 2. It says, use the diagram shown. Find the area of the given circle. And then something important says, round your answer to the nearest hundredths. That is the second decimal place. Okay, so we know we want to look for area. So I'm going to put A is question mark. And we are given a line that goes all the way through, which is my diameter, is 10 feet. So let me go back and look at my formula for area. That is A equals pi times r squared. Okay. This formula does not have that d. So what I have to do is find radius using that diameter. So something you should know is that diameter is equal to 2 times r. Okay. So we're going to replace that d with 10 to find that radius. So I'm I'm going to do the same thing that I did on top. Try to get the r by itself by dividing by 2 to both sides. Now I got r is equal to 5. This I can now use for my formula. So instead of writing a equals pi times r squared, I can now write a equals 3.14 times 5 squared. Okay. Now I'm going to keep rewriting it so that I don't have anything that I don't know. So I'm going to have 3.14 times 5 times 5. Okay. That's what I'm going to do on the calculator. So 3.14 times 5 times 5. That gives me that A is equal to 78.5. And because it's area, it has to be feet squared. This is going to be our final answer for this question. Okay. The last thing I need to make sure is that it's the nearest hundredths place. Like I said, it's the second decimal place, but this one does not have a second decimal place, so we can just leave it alone. So my claim for this one's going to say the area is 78.5 feet squared. And that is it for the notes for today.